Live? I think I'm live. Guys, welcome to another Saturday Night live stream. Tonight, as you can see, we are not doing an auction. In fact, I'm hoping you didn't watch me just swat at a gnat right before we got started tonight. But instead of doing an auction, we are going to be joined, and I'm going to do this periodically, maybe once a month, maybe more frequently if it goes over really well. But we are going to do a live stream and hangout with special guests. And tonight, and we're going to get right into our special guest tonight. Tonight, we are going to be joined by my very, very good friend, Mr. Ravenhawk Coins. Raven, welcome to the stream tonight. It's been a while since you and I have been live. What's going on?
Oh man, just got back from a trip from Texas, went down to the Grapevine Coin Show, had a great time, got to see a lot of really cool people down there. You know how it is.
I do.
You get to see your friends that it's almost like Groundhog Day at the coin shows, but it's fun.
It is. I like to travel to coin shows, even though I'm not necessarily super excited about all of the traveling part. You know, sometimes I enjoy the drive. Sometimes it's a little bit too long. But what I wanted to do in these streams is just kind of hang out and chat with people in the chat, take questions, answer questions, and see if they want to bounce anything off of us. So we will get started here by looking at the chat and welcoming everybody. And I do see Reagan. He has been here for a while. Steve Lapointe has been here for a while. Doug Wagner, you nodded. You know Steve Lapointe very well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. We got Mrs. Coin Crew here. We have Create Craft. We have MJD84. What's going on, MJD? Jesus is King, Coin Silver. Teacher 1388, Doug Wagner is here as well. So, guys, we are going to get some people in the house. Looks like 79, and people are filing in. So, a pleasure to have you here. Raven, the thing I really wanted to start chatting about tonight, I think, with everyone here as we start to get people in and take questions is gold. I mean, holy smokes. You know,
Dude,
whatever
insane
works.
growth.
Insane growth. Go ahead.
You know how it is. I mean, come on. It's up literally $900 in the last 6+ months. I mean, that kind of growth is just unheard of. And you and I, we're talking earlier. It's amazing if somebody had sat on their gold long enough. The turnaround that they would have, the return on their investment is just unheard of. And I'm curious as to where it's going to go from there.
Yeah, I'm looking at gold price and it really blows my mind to see it really hit 2,600 so fast. And I know there's so many people in the chat that said this is just a long time coming and it's even going to go farther, and it very well may. But I do get very concerned, and I would love to hear what some of the people that are watching us live right now think. I do get very concerned when it goes up as quickly as it has. Like you had said, it's went up $900 in 6 months. I mean, that's like $150 a month. Actually, I think it's exactly $150 a month. If it were to continue on that trend in another 6 months, we'd be sitting at $3,500 gold. I mean, at what point does it just become unaffordium? You know what I mean? Everyone talks about unobtainium. What if it becomes unaffordium? Like literally nobody can buy it. I mean, at that point, if you figure, let's just say a conservative 16% premium on a 10th ounce gold eagle, you're still looking at a $400 coin for one little dime size of gold. Exactly.
Something that we were used to paying, literally around $200 for the longest time. That's with the premiums and everything in there. And now, at the show, they were going for $340 for a 1/10 of an ounce right now.
Wow. That's a much higher premium than I had just mentioned.
Yeah, it's a lot of the dealers can't get them for less than 3 something, and they got to turn around. They got to make their premium on top of it, as well as try to cover their prices for being at the shows. And it is pretty crazy. Like Fireside Coin says right now, it's outpacing inflation now. If it gets to 3,000 even, I mean, here's the thing. I thought that at 1,700, 1,600 in there, I thought it was still reasonable. Right now, I think the majority of the public is really priced out. Unless you have a substantial amount of disposable income, your best bet is to still stick with silver and stack that as much as you can and hope that you can ride that out until gold changes, because as we know, everything goes in cycles. There is a time and point in time that it's going to drop, out of, it's going to crash some.
Yeah.
And that can hurt the guy that's now in the FOMO stage and they're putting all their money into it. Next thing you know, you've just lost 30-40 grand, and that's a scary prospect.
No, absolutely. And I want to point out a comment here. BB11 actually says, we're talking about the gold price going up. He said, someone's saying at the start of 2024, so I mean that was 9 months ago now, the gold would reach 3,000 by the end of the year. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, let's see, it's 150 a month, and we're sitting in mid-September, so October, November, so that's another 450. I mean, based on the current growth, it'd
be 30-50.
Yeah, based on current growth, it would be.
Which with what's going on, it wouldn't surprise me. And honestly, had you asked me this 6 months ago, I'd have said you're crazy. Because this kind of growth is literally unheard of.
Right.
For a long time, gold. Here's the thing: gold and silver go in those cycles of up and down, but it's always been a steady climb. You don't see just big giant jump, because when that happens, historically, it's happened with silver and whatnot. It's crashed.
Right.
Like right here, you said living the dream, saying gold won't crash; it'll be rising for the next 2 years. If you are right in your prediction, then you better buy as much as you can now. But here's the thing: if it crashes in the next 6 months and you've invested yourself heavily, holy cow!
Right.
The ramifications of that is just frightening.
Yes, it is. Hey, give me 1 second, Raven.
Sure.
Guys, you're going to see me lag for just a second. I need to fix something, and I may even have people filing out on this. I've lost. Okay, so I'm hoping that it refreshes quickly because we are now sending data again. Let's see. It says excellent connection. Guys, do me a favor and let me know if you can see me again. I did have to do a connection reset, but I think we're back live. And we have a super chat that popped up, so I do want to call that one out for sure. I will obviously always call out super chats as long as they are not a troll and something reasonable. Can you guys hear me again? Yep, all good. Cool. So Chuck Stacks, guys, I want to give a huge shout out. Chuck Stacks with the $10 super chat says, both you guys rocks. Thanks for all the continuous great content, bros. Chuck Stacks, I appreciate that. I'm sure Raven does as well.
Oh, heck yeah. Chuck Stacks, a really solid supporter of the community. Very cool of you to do that.
Absolutely, dude. Thank you so much. Do appreciate it. Guys, like I said, I will call out super chats when they do pop up, but don't feel like you have to do that. I will do my best to get to all the comments regardless of whether or not it's a super chat for sure. So let's see. I had another one up here. I'm trying to scroll up and find it. Oh, so Maximus Silverstacker actually said 2015. So this was 9 years ago. At Max Direct, 1 10th-ounce gold eagles were just $135 each.
That's just, it makes you wish, man, I wish I would have went super heavy back in 2015.
I mean, I was buying gold and silver in 2015. That's a little bit before I started this channel, but man, it's crazy. It reminds me of, when people say, man, I remember when I used to be able to, buy, I would buy 1 10th-ounce gold eagles for $50 or $60,
Yeah.
Which was a thing. J-Dog with the $5 super chat says, hey, Silver Seeker, hey, Ravenhawk coins. What's up, J-Dog? Thank you for that $5 super chat.
Very nice.
Maximus also said, imagine leaving your money in a savings account, earning nothing, or investing in gold. Crazy.
Yeah. And here's one of the things that it's kind of interesting, where you had people like Warren Buffett and other people saying gold and silver is a worthless investment. This has really proved them wrong in the last 6 months. I mean, holy cow. And where does it go from here? I mean, I wish I had that crystal ball, brother, because I'd be making some insane money.
it's hard to I think it's hard to ignore investment advice from someone as savvy as Warren Buffett. But the thing about Warren Buffett's investment strategy is I don't even think that he dislikes gold and silver. He also doesn't buy Bitcoin. He only puts his money into things that produce. So, you know, he puts it into companies that are producing a product or a service that people want. And since, you know, gold and silver isn't something that produces, that's why he doesn't invest in those avenues, at least, you know.
Right. And that's solid. That's
Yeah.
why he is who he is,
Right.
but there's been other people too. I think it was Mark Cuban and a couple, and it's one of those things where you wonder if, their advice has really cost people in the long run. But at the same time, you really can't fault them too much because they've been so successful.
For sure. So we got a 2-month channel member shout out here, and a huge thank you to Sick Thinker for being a member, channel member for 2 months. He says, when does silver catch up with inflation? It has. I mean, let's be honest. You know, silver was $15 an ounce, $16 an ounce, $17 an ounce pre-COVID. So it is nearly double what it was, you know, back in 2019. It's nearly double what it was. And go ahead.
Well, that's one thing that's crazy, where if you had enough money invested in silver, you've doubled your money in 7 years.
Right.
And traditionally you would have been heavy invested into the stock market to pull something like that off. So silver is actually really doing well. It's one of those things again where it's like, where's that going to go?
Yeah.
If gold goes up, silver should historically follow gold, but lately it's been kind of weird because it's really hovered at that 28, 29, 30, 31 where it's at now, and then it'll drop back. And I would like to see it be about $35 or so an ounce in the near future.
For sure. And I definitely could see that happen, although I don't predict the spot price. I do see that as something that could happen. I'm not saying it will. I'm just saying I do see it as something that could happen. One thing I'll say, though, is you said that if you were to put it in silver, you doubled your money. Technically, yes, but what you actually doubled is just your amount of fiat dollars. You haven't doubled your money, if you will, because the value of the dollar is so much lower than it was back then. You just did yourself a favor by putting it into an avenue that's not going to lose value the way that the U.S. dollar has.
Right.
And I said this in a video the other day, Raven. I mean, gas prices are definitely coming down. I think when I made that video, it was, there's a gas station near me. It's $2.45 right now. So,
yeah, I filled up at Costco for $2.37 or something like that. Like I was shocked, but it depends on the area you're in. I was just down in Texas, and a lot of the gas stations there were still at $2.79, $2.89.
Right, exactly. But I think my point for bringing it up, though, is yes, gas prices are down. But when's the last time I know most people have done this, but the last time you grocery shopped, compare that to what it was just a few years ago.
Groceries, man.
Oh my gosh.
Up at least 20% across the board. I mean, and shrinkflation is a real thing. You don't get a half gallon of ice cream anymore. They're giving you 3, pints or whatever it ends up being. Even things like the big guys like McDonald's, there was a big backlash on their large fries being like the size of a medium these days.
Mm-hmm.
So shrinkflation is a real thing, and it's kind of frustrating because I'd rather have the price go up and still get what I was getting before, a pound of bacon, not 12 ounces of bacon,
Exactly. I want to point out, I had to skip to the bottom, so I know I've missed a lot of the comments, and I apologize. But Richard Cornell here said in 2011, silver was nearly $50 an ounce. That is true. Silver rose very quickly back then and dropped just as quick.
It dropped real quick.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it wasn't quite Silver Thursday crash, but it was pretty bad. The thing about it is this time it's going up slower, I think, than it did back then. And that's a good thing. And keep in mind, me saying this is not saying, oh, well, this isn't 2011, it's not going to drop. It absolutely could. We could wake up, Monday morning and silver drops $10. I have no idea. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is that I feel a little bit more safe with, a whatever it is, gold, silver, whatever it is, buying it if it goes up slowly, right? If you see silver, if silver's $20 one day and you wake up tomorrow and it's 40, I'm not going to want to buy silver at 40. No. But if silver's $20 2 years ago, and then it goes from 20 to 40 over the course of 2 years in a slow climb, I feel much more comfortable buying, closer to the
Hmm.
top, because it's less likely to have a Silver Thursday style situation. And again,
Yep.
that's go ahead.
It'll have proven its value over time, and its worth of being a more solid investment, and being able to take the hits. When silver drops a buck or so an ounce or two, it's not a big deal. But when you're getting $10-15 an ounce, that's a major hit. you
Yeah.
know
And keep in mind, all of that said, I'm not, I know I already said this, but I just want to reiterate. I want to repeat myself. I'm not saying that it can't happen. Oh, it most definitely can.
oh yeah.
It's just the likelihood of it happening in that way is much less likely when it does a slow climb to where it is. And I think
Yep.
that, excuse me, I think that's kind of what we're seeing with silver. But gold, on the other hand, is kind of climbing a little bit faster than, makes me feel comfortable, which is what we were talking about there. If you think about it, it really
Hmm.
is. Like, don't get me wrong, I have gold. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. I don't have a crystal ball.
Right.
It definitely could keep going up, but I feel less comfortable buying gold now than I did when it was 2000. You know what I mean?
I I'm right there with you.
Right.
I'm right there with you because I have some, we both have gold that we've stashed away at a lower rate, and I'm happy to see that jump, but because it's jumped so quick, it is more volatile. I agree 100% that there is a big chance of gold taking a very heavy hit, and it could happen, any day.
Right.
Now, I wish I knew that day
Yeah.
ahead of time. We don't have that crystal ball, but it's one of those things where you need to stay diversified in your investments. Like, neither one of us are financial advisors, but we have enough time doing this stuff and knowing the markets and watching things to understand that everything goes up and comes down, and when it goes up too fast, it crashes really hard.
Yep. Silver Jackal had a question from Cheryl Morey. I went ahead and pinned that up there. This is a very good question. He said, or she says, I'd assume Cheryl, that my LCS owner says that my 2006 Proof 70 gold Buffalo isn't worth more than any other Buffalo. Is that really true? So Raven goes to a lot of shows, works in a coin shop, and I'm going to answer what I believe, but I also, Raven, I would like to hear your opinion as well. But gold has went up so quickly that the premium on premium gold, and this is kind of what I talk about when I say, hey, if you're with silver, if you like collecting, if you like these really cool things like pandas, or these really high premium things like if you collected the Star Wars coins or the Marvel coins, don't stack those, because if silver, and this is I think what's happening with gold, it's cool to get one, get it for your collection. I have many
Hmm.
collections, but don't buy 20 of the same one of those. Get one of each one for your collection. It's a collection, and that also happens to be silver. But what's happening, I think, in this situation, Raven, and then I want you to chime in, is that gold has climbed so quickly that the premium on those premium coins is all but disappeared. That's what's happening with pre-33 gold as well. Am I right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Matter of fact, it is literally destroyed the premium in the gold buying right now. A lot of dealers are buying under spot by quite a bit. Some dealers are at 90% of melt for things, and then you have the collectibles like the premium buffaloes. Those are beautiful coins, but they're not going to pay you extra because it's graded at a 70. And that's unfortunate because not too long ago that coin was worth quite a bit more, being what it was, being that special collector type of gold. But one thing that I see people do, and it's one thing that is kind of scary, is paying premiums on bullion that's put at a perfect 70, because that 1/10 ounce with the special signature and being a 70 grade. Again, no dealer, coin shops aren't going to pay you that extra that you invested in getting that coin, thinking that it's going to pay off in the end. That's when the collector gold has its value, if gold is at a spot that makes sense for dealers. Right now they're freaking out because raw stuff is actually the way to go at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, and the same thing happened with the premium on pre-33 gold outside of
Oh
some
yeah.
like super rare low mintage, high numismatic pieces, but your common MS63, MS64, St. Gaudens, I mean, they may as well
They're
be out
buying
of
them for melt
yeah, they
and
may as
below
well be out
melt.
of the slab. There's
Yeah.
the slab literally means nothing.
Means
And
nothing.
yeah, so and that's why I preach on this channel, and I already said it is buy your collector pieces, get one of each, and then put the rest of your money if you're gonna buy a bunch of silver. And what I'd like to do is if I'm buying something, you guys know I have a perma stack, and then I have what I call a soft stack. My soft stack is stuff that I use for barter. I have on my website, for sale. I put on my bid board. I put in my auctions, things like that. I have a perma stack. My perma stack is literally it is its own stack, right? It is not mixed in with my soft stack. It is stuff that I intend on probably dying with, and I know that sounds morbid, but it's true. I want it to go to my descendants, my kids, and their kids when I'm gone. So
it's an investment into their future. Yeah.
exactly. So when something hits, like if I were to buy a premium coin that's a 1 ounce silver for, let's say it's really cool and I really like it, and I spend $70 on this 1 ounce silver coin, I know that I'm spending a bunch of money on the coin and not necessarily the silver. So what I'll do is I'll also buy like 21 ounce buffaloes, which is a very low premium. And then when you take the total cost and then divide it by 21, it doesn't feel so bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, so, but yeah, when something hit, and I show stuff for my permastack on this channel all the time. I've been showing those same, I have 4 kilo Johnson Matthey bars I've been showing on this channel for years.
For years.
I know.
I remember when we first met, you were playing with them in one of your videos. You're like, ka-dink, ka-dink,
yeah.
ka-dink. And I'm like, man, that's a nice problem to have right there, And you know what's crazy? Think about even then what that kilo was going for compared to now.
Yeah.
Wow, it's one of those things that as we get older and we watch things change. I remember being a really, really young boy, and gold was about to hit 300, and all the old timers were like, it's never gonna go past 3, it's never gonna go. And then it went up to like 360, and they all freaked out at 360 an ounce. Could you imagine being able to buy gold for 360 an ounce?
This is gonna sound stupid, and you're gonna think I mean it in a different way. There's 2 meanings to me saying this, but if gold were 360 an ounce, I'd be living on the street, buddy. But not because I would spend everything on gold
to get that gold.
I would. I guess I would have to have somewhere to hold it, so I'd have to pay for something, to securely store it. But I'd be what house? How much gold can I get for this house?
You just be living in the Tesla, driving around, bottom it out with a little U-Haul behind it and security.
Right.
That's funny.
Exactly. So someone said, where was this next question? Where we go? Oh, do you see silver reaching $100 in 2025?
That's a hard stretch, honestly.
I heard a really weird sound. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. I think 40 something is possible, maybe even as high as 50, because historically it has had a chance to get there. But 100 an ounce, man, I honestly myself don't see it. It doesn't mean that I'm right in my prediction, but you and I know I've been pretty good over time at knowing where silver is going to be, and lucky, so to speak. But that's an educated guess over knowing what I've known for doing what I've done for a lot of my life. If silver goes to 100, then you're talking we'll probably have gold at $5,000 or something crazy. That then it is what did you call it? Unpurchasable or something like that.
Yeah, unaffordium.
That's a good word. Unaffordium. Registered, trademarked, Silver Seeker 2024.
My answer for this question comes in 2 parts. One, I don't predict spot prices, but if I were to make an educated guess, the answer would be no. The second part of me answering this question is, why in the world would you want it to? Because silver hitting $100 an ounce that quickly means that there's other problems that we don't want to deal with. I mean, that's probably going to be some sort of I'm not going to say Venezuela or Zimbabwe style hyperinflation, but certainly, incredible inflation that's causing the prices of everything to skyrocket. And I say all the time that, people are like, oh, I want silver to go to 100, or I want it to go to 200, or I want gold to go to $10,000. You don't, because sure, maybe you'll be okay, but it's not going to be a world that you want to live in. Yeah, you'll have some gold, you'll have some silver. There's going to be millions of people hurting, just starving, fighting each other for food. You're going to have to, it's not a world I want to live in. I don't want to see that happen. I really don't. So
I agree with you 100%, brother. That is a very scary prospect. And it would be one of those things that if you don't have a stockpile of 90%, you don't have a stockpile of some ounces of silver, what are you going to do? Because our dollar is going to be worth absolutely nothing at that point.
MJD84 said, but we do have other problems. Well, I know that we do, but it'll be even worse. It'll be a lot worse than it is now. That's my opinion, of course. Ryan says, I had to cringe when I heard Dave Ramsey say gold has no intrinsic value. Dave Ramsey is really good for a number of things. Telling people that they're being stupid with their money is definitely one of them. I've actually watched a number of his shows where, the people will call in and tell him his financial situation. You're like, well, my income is like $1,500 a month and I have a $600 car payment. You know what I mean?
Not exactly the smartest way to go about doing stuff.
and he's very good at telling those people that they're idiots and trying to put them back on the right track. That doesn't mean that he's an expert on everything. I disagree with him 1,000%. Gold absolutely, as well as silver, has very incredible intrinsic value. But but go ahead.
Fireside says silver at 100 means weekly food for a home would be at $1,000. That would probably be considered cheap even at that point if silver was there. I mean, like Seeker said, you can't have that kind of jump without there being something scary on the other end. And it really worries me about people that are heavily vested in gold. I hope that gold stays solid, but I honestly see there being a drop. It just, something has to give,
right?
Or we're going to go towards that spot that we don't want to be at.
Agreed. Teacher, this one is directly for me. He says, do you adjust the prices in your shop? He's talking about my Cool Stacks online vault. Do you adjust the prices in your shop when silver and gold price changes? So I don't have like my online store. Like I'm a one guy show, right? I have my little online store with some stuff that I put on there. I don't have the technology for my shop to automatically adjust prices when spot goes up and down. If silver jumped to like 34, then yeah, I'd probably be on my website updating the prices a little bit. But I'm not going to change. I'm not going to update the prices because silver went from 30 to 31 or it went from 30 to 29. It's pretty static unless it's just something ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I agree.
That makes any sense.
Yeah, you're right on the money. Doug Wagner says, do you think the interest rates dropping will make silver go up? Well, we've already seen an uptick, from just a few days ago.
Right.
And it just depends on where they go from there.
Yes, sir. Hold on one second.
Sure.
All right, cool. All right, so our time in the Word says, as gold increases, will it put silver up with it? For example, if gold goes to 3,000. Excuse me, I'm getting like a hiccup here. I'm trying to keep from hiccuping on the screen. As gold increases, will it pull silver up with it? For example, if gold goes to 3,000, will that affect the silver rise to 40? Does gold price affect silver prices? So there's always talk, that stupid Nat that I told you about at the beginning of the stream. I think
he's I'm gonna get my 5 minutes of fame on Seeker's channel.
Dude, there's been this Nat flying around my office like Raven was watching me swat at the air before we went live. There's, obviously people discuss the gold to silver ratio all the time. There's many people say that gold and silver should be at a certain ratio based where on it was historically. That's not always the case. Many people, not all the people, but many people will buy and sell based on the gold to silver ratio. So if gold to silver ratio gets, let's say 100 to 1, they'll buy a bunch of silver, and then when it gets closer, like 70 to 1, they'll switch that silver out for gold, and then when it expands apart, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. I see it a lot, even in the shops. Like, you have those people that are that way. That's that certain type of stacker that follows that religiously, and then you have the other person that sells their stuff when it drops and then buys when it raises. And that always baffles me, because you've seen it at coin shows, you've seen it in different shops, and it it just doesn't make sense. I don't understand it, but they're freaking out when it drops, that, oh, I lost, I'm going to sell. No, it's a long-term investment.
I have finally killed this net. I
I finally got it.
I have a feeling there's going to be a meme of me slapping myself in the face, because I literally, while you were talking, just slapped myself in the face. But this gnat is dead right here on my mat. I'm looking for a tissue. Thomas tripped on a nickel, said, "Don't give yourself a black eye." It is dead. I got it.
I got it. That's funny.
Dude, that hurt. Like, I actually hurt myself. That hurt. It landed right on my nose. I could see it. Like, I just...
That's funny, man.
I was looking at a comment. Let's see. So Ryan says, I look at metals as a secondary storage of value and an insurance policy. And in times of inflation where it acts as a hedge, can sell some if you need the cash, but that's what an emergency fund is for. Agreed. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I like to do, and I've said this in my videos before, maybe you guys have seen me say it, in those videos, maybe you haven't. I'm sure many of you have, is I absolutely, like, there's a lot of gold and silver stackers. I'm not going to call out names or anything, but I watch, a number of different channels. And there's some of them who straight up say cash is trash. Like, cash is junk. You don't want cash. You shouldn't have cash. I disagree with that. Like, cash is incredibly important. I have a mortgage. I can't pay my mortgage with my gold and silver. I can't.
No.
I can't pay I was going to say get gas in my car, but I can't pay my electric bill with gold and silver. And when I go grocery shopping, they don't accept gold and silver. And I understand that there's going to be exceptions to every rule. There's going to be your mom and pop gas station that may, accept silver. Maybe you have, a landlord that's really into gold and silver. He's like, oh yeah, I'll take your gold. But, the majority of cases, 99% of people, 99% of businesses do not take it. So having cash is incredibly important. If you're in a car accident or you get sick, you need to go to the hospital, you need to pay that insurance deductible, they're not going to accept gold or silver. So it's incredibly important that you have a stack of cash immediately available, whether it's in a savings account or you want to bury it in your backyard, whatever. But it's incredibly important to have that, right?
Yep. I agree.
Right. I stack gold and silver over that. So I have cash, I have a savings account with money in it, and then when I'm at a comfort level where I'm like, all right, well, I feel like I have enough cash to cover any emergency expenses, so on and so forth, and I have enough income to cover my monthly regular expenses, that excess is where I start looking at gold and silver and other investment avenues. And I've said many times, I don't, I'm not an all my eggs in one basket type person. I actually do have a stock portfolio. Gold and silver is a large chunk of my investment, but it's not all of it. But all that money, whether it's going to be in stocks or bonds or other investments, or if it's going to be in gold and silver, that's all above my cash reserves, if you will. So there's people that, if you ever hear anyone, and again, I'm not calling anyone out, but if you ever hear anyone tell you that cash is absolute junk and you shouldn't have any cash at all, they're crazy. Don't do that. That's my opinion. Of course, I'm not a financial advisor.
I agree with you. This whole night, we've really, everything we were saying, you and I are on the same page. That's why we've been friends this long. We think a lot alike in certain areas. The reason, gold and silver is not readily exchangeable like that is it's too volatile, for one. Could you imagine you give your landlord your mortgage, and let's say your mortgage is $2,600 just for, grins and giggles. And then the next day it drops down to $1,700 and he tries to turn around and say, well, no, man, you owe me $900.
Yeah,
that's not how a live market works. And if somebody says cash is trash, there's a big problem, because you can only really do well doing the coin shows and different stuff with cash on you. You can trade silver and gold. You can play that game, but you have to sit there and negotiate and do this back and forth thing. When in actuality, you have a wad of cash, you put it down, you pay, you walk away.
Exactly. I want to actually, this comment, I was literally thinking about this, and then this comment came up, and it's perfect for what I want to say here. So Rudy Poo says, if your hospital needs cash, tell them you need to go to your bank gold dealer first. That's reasonable. So here's the other side of why it's important, in my opinion, to have cash, is because let's say that you're putting all of your money in gold and silver, and then you have to go to the hospital. Well, you just bought gold at $2,600 and you have to go to the hospital on Tuesday and gold just dropped to 22. Now you're forced to sell it at a loss, right?
Yep.
If you have that cash aside, you don't have to put yourself in a position where you're forced to sell your gold or silver at the wrong time to sell gold and silver. Does that make sense?
Perfect example.
Right.
Yeah, no, it makes absolute sense. You need to be diversified. And that is exactly what having a nice reserve of cash is. Like Seeker said, you won't have to sell off things that way. It's very, very good advice. And for those of you watching in the channel, Seeker knows a lot of what he's talking about. And I watch his videos, I get information from him all the time. And if you're not being informed, then you're going to miss out.
And I appreciate you saying that, Raven. But again, I've said this 20 times, but I want to make sure that people that are new here, like, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not licensed to be a financial advisor. This is all my opinion only. So just keep that in mind. So.
Yeah, no. And that's the thing. It's not like we're not going to sit up here and go say, hey, go do this, this, and that. We're going to say, this is what we do. And if you want to follow that, that is up to you. But we are not licensed for giving out financial advice by any means.
Right. Absolutely. In fact, I would recommend seeing a financial advisor to some, not everybody, but definitely to some people. I've had some comments where I'm like, man, you really need to talk to somebody. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah. Yeah.
So, Maximus Silverstacker says, I worked in a deli convenience store 2019. We had an auto change dispenser, and I could see the sides of 6 rolls, dimes and quarters, all pulled out of out the silver. I was finding $1 face value each week. Wow, that's awesome.
That's nice.
That is awesome. Heck yeah, dude. I'd be all over that. It's like, if you think about it, like, yeah, it's all right. It's $1 per week, and let's see, it was 2019, so that was before silver went up. So I mean, 90% was probably what, $15 a dollar, 14, 13, but still, that's an extra $13 a week.
Yep.
Consider that,
and it's free money at face. I mean, if you really think about it, like, if you can buy it, that's why we did all the coin roll hunting that we did over the years. Getting face value 90% and 40% silver is just, you can't go wrong. There's no investment out there right now that you can put $1 in and turn around and instantly get 10, 11, 12, $13 for a half dollar, depending on where silver's at the moment. That's just unheard of. I mean, even war nickels, look at war nickels now. They used to be like 45, 50 cents a piece. Now you can't get them less than $1.60. 40% halves. I mean, that's a great way to get some added wealth in your pocket.
Yeah, for sure. So Raven, I want to switch over to another topic before we get off here. We'll probably give it another 15, 20 minutes and go. And
Sure.
Guys, please feel free to ask questions. I know I've missed some. I'm watching the chat, but chat scrolls faster than I can pin messages, and I try and pin one if I want to get back to it when I see it. But Raven, you just got back from the coin show in Grapevine. We were talking about it a little bit before the call here, but one thing I didn't ask you, and I was thinking about asking you here on the stream, is what was the bullion like there at the show? You kind of hinted at the 10th ounces being like 140 or 340, but what about silver? Was silver selling? Were people looking for silver? What's going on there?
I was surprised. There was a lot of premiums with the dealers at only $1.50 above spot. You could get an entire roll of generic 1 ounces for $6.50. So what's that ends up being? $32.50 an ounce. Like, that's pretty darn reasonable. And junk silver, man. I mean, I even saw a guy that had junk silver below melt. you know, and it was one of those things where, now here's the thing, his junk silver is pretty junky, but it's still silver. You know, no matter what, it's going to melt at that price. But I was surprised to see that, you know, and I did pick up some of that. I forgot to tell you earlier. I managed buying some because I can't really pass that up, because silver goes up just a couple bucks. I'll just take it over to the refinery and do okay, you know.
Absolutely. Patriot G, I pinned your message. I'll get back to you in a second because it kind of is off topic what I just started here with Raven, but I will get back to that in a minute. That's why I pinned it there. So you said $1.50 on, was it on rounds?
Yeah, rounds and 1 ounce bars and stuff. And the thing that I have noticed though is some of the numismatic stuff has jumped quite substantially.
Gotcha.
For silver stuff, you know, like traditionally, if you're looking at stuff, a lot of dealers mark things up 20 to 30% above gray sheet. I was seeing things as high as 50% above gray, which kind of surprised me.
Oh, wow. That is pretty high.
Yeah.
So the reason I asked though with the $1.50 on rounds is when I was at the coin show in St. Louis at the end of July, I actually saw silver, it was 10-ounce bars on the floor at spot. Did you see anything like that?
100-ounce bars, 100 back of spot.
So they were selling 100-ounce bars below spot
for the whole bar, you know. So
sure.
What's that? $3,000. They were buying them for 29. You know, so 100 back.
They were buying them or selling them?
No, they would buy them from somebody that's selling it. So if you came up to a dealer's table and you wanted them to buy a 100-ounce bar from you, they would literally tell you they'll buy it for 2,900.
Oh yeah. So no, what I saw in July was dealers selling 10-ounce bars for spot. Like,
oh yeah. I totally miss it. Yeah, there was some stuff at spot 10-ounce bars, which kind of surprised me. And you know, and so seeing that, and then seeing the 1 ouncers only being $1.50 ahead of spot is like, wow, that's different, because not too long ago everything was $4 or $5, $6, you know, for generic, and then sovereigns were, you know, 7, 8, 9. Even silver eagles were down. I saw one guy had them for $2.50 above spot, which I was like, well, dang, I'm kind of eagle heavy at the moment, but that was just shocking, you know, because I know the local coin shops where I'm at, current year is an $8 premium, and previous years is $6.
Gotcha.
You know, so
yeah, $8 on, yeah, okay,
yeah.
Now, were there a lot of people, did you notice, actually buying the silver? Like, and I'm not talking about, you know, dealers buying it from customers. Were there actually people walking the floor buying it?
Oh yeah, there's people buying silver, not as much gold, you know, but people were still buying gold. The smart ones were buying the numismatic gold. Okay. You know, because like you and I were talking earlier, and you hit on the fact that even, you know, numismatic gold has lost its kind of power. Well, the smart people are buying that numismatic gold, because if gold takes that crash that we are worried about, that was still a solid investment by that person, because it'll definitely go back to where it should be.
Yeah. So in other words, it'll maintain a premium that currently doesn't exist because gold's too high.
Exactly.
Basically, like the premium's hiding and it will come back.
Yeah. It's like,
right. So I'm going to get back to this question. Patriot G says, please answer this mentality theory. Most country silver and gold value increases 18 to 20 times when their fiat currency collapses. Would it be reasonable to expect the same if the dollar crashes here? My answer to that is, it's not really that the gold and silver value increases 18 to 20 times. It's just that the value of the currency decreased that much. So look at it like this. I look at gold and silver. Obviously, we use dollars when we're talking about its value, but in reality, you really want to look at it as what it's worth in barter or trade. So let's say a silver eagle is, you go to the store. This is pure theory. Like, obviously, these numbers are just made up off the top of my head. But let's say a silver eagle buys 5 gallons of milk, as does a $20 bill. Well, if the value of our dollar collapses, and let's say loses half of its value overnight, well, now your $20 is not going to buy you 5 gallons of milk. It's going to buy you 2.5. But your silver, your 1 ounce silver, could still buy you that 5 gallons because the silver value did not collapse. It's just that the dollar value collapsed to the point where it takes more dollars to buy the same amount of silver. Does that make sense?
Exactly. Yep.
It would now
100%.
take you $40 to buy the 5 gallons of milk instead of a 20. It would now take you $40 to buy an ounce of silver instead of the 20.
Yep.
So yes, the very short answer to that is yes, it would. But so
here's the one thing: if the U.S. dollar absolutely crashed, that would have insane global ramifications. You know, to where it's one of those things where I know there's a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, I know there's channels out there that love the fear mongering thing, and the dollars crash and the dollars, you know, like you said earlier, worthless. We truly, truly, wholeheartedly hope that never happens.
Yeah, 100% do. 100% do. Even if because of the way that I've prepared for it, I'd be fine. I know there's so many people that wouldn't. And I said this earlier, but there's going to be so many people that were not ready for it. And I don't want to see people suffer. That's not something I ever want to see. Yeah, okay, cool. I'll be great. You know, and maybe I won't, because I mean, there's going to be a lot of, like, gold and silver is not the end all be all, right? If we really do go through that, I mean, there's going to be a lot of pain and suffering, and you're going to have to live in that world regardless of whether or not you have gold or silver, right? So I don't want to be there.
And that'll be a point where all of a sudden your pew is,
call them freedom seed dispensers.
Yes, the seeds of the freedoms will be worth quite a bit. Spices, things that we take absolutely for granted, will all of a sudden be bartered in a way that you just don't want to see that, because the people that have will really have to be careful with the people that don't have. And that's just unfortunate. That's human nature.
It is. And I've said this many, many times, but if we ever did go through some sort of like catastrophic collapse of the dollar, and gold and silver is going to be damn near, I did not mean to use well, whatever. Silver and gold is going to be nearly irrelevant for at least the first 6 months to a year. Like, it's not even going to matter, because you're not going to be able to feed your family. You're not going to be able to eat the silver, and all anyone's going to care about is food. So the people that have the food are going to hoard the food. They're not going to want your silver for their food. So make sure it's not just if you really are like a prepper, and I'm not a prepper, maybe I have medical supplies, I have backup water and food, you know, the food storage like everyone else, but like, you know, I don't have the underground bunker and you know what I mean, all that stuff. But what I'm saying is, you're not going to be able to eat your silver. No one's going to want your silver until everything settles and there starts to become some form of normalcy. And then what's going to happen is there's going to need to be a medium of exchange. I've talked about this many times. There's going to need to be a medium of exchange. Gold and silver has fit that bill for 5,000 years, and in my opinion, it probably will again. You know, a perfect example is, let's say you're a tool maker and you make shovels. Well, there's someone that needs a shovel, and all they have to offer you is bread, but you need milk. Well, the other thing they can give you is silver for your shovel, that you can then take that silver to go to the guy that has milk, which then he'll use his silver to go buy, you know, something that he needs. That's how our dollar works on a very fundamental level. It gets much more complicated than that, but on a very elementary fundamental level, that's how a medium of exchange works. That's how the dollars work. When you go to work, right, Raven? When you go to work, you're exchanging your labor for the dollars that you then use to buy the things that you need from people that don't need your labor. So
exactly.
Gold and silver will be nearly irrelevant for at least the first 6 months to a year, if not longer. Guys, Frostbite with the 5 says swear jar donation.
That's funny. And that would bring us back to a time that, you know, when the Great Depression happened, my great grandfather used to work all day for a couple chickens and a fish. There was no cash being given out for your services. It was that need to feed your family that was truly important.
Absolutely. Yep. Joseph Lopez, this one's kind of off the wall, so I just pinned it for the heck of it. He says, do you think that I can convince a cashier at a grocery store to accept Canadian silver maple as form of payment? If you do, she's only going to accept it as face value, so you'll be basically giving away a bunch of silver. But also, but also, if you do that, please make a video so that I can react to it.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see. You know what? The currency exchange thing kind of reminds me of, how people were getting on the gold back trend for a little while. Um, you see how hard it is for something like that to even exist now, because people are looking at this little piece of thin paper going, well, wait a minute, that's worth what? One unit is not $1. One unit is, $4 or $5, depending on where gold is. So like you said earlier, it would take a good 6 months or so for everybody as a whole society to say, okay, here's what your dime's worth, here's what your quarter's worth, here's what your half dollar's worth, and they'd all have to sign off on it, which
It would basically be like, how important is it to you? Like, all
yep.
right, yeah, you need my bread. I don't really need anything, so I'm going to charge you more than you,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, if you really want my bread, you're going to pay me, right? Like,
Yep.
otherwise, get over it. So it's going to become
Well,
a, how bad do you
take
need the bread? How much, you know what I mean?
Germany, when they had their hyperinflation after World War II, or yeah, it was after, right? Where they were showing, I might be messing up some of my information, but the point is people had whole wheelbarrows full of money to buy one loaf of bread.
That happened recently in Zimbabwe.
Yep,
You can find
Zimbabwe.
you can find images of them throwing their money. It's like just scattered along the side of the roads. I mean, they printed the $100 trillion bill. I mean, it's
Yeah.
so yeah, yeah, it's a thing. Teacher 1388 says, if all the billionaires and millionaires would give the government $1 billion and a million, we could pay down the national debt. There's it's not that simple. There's
No,
I mean, all right, so
the
Elon
debt's
Musk.
too high.
Yeah, Elon Musk is worth 200 and what, 50, maybe $300 billion today. Our
Yep.
national debt is 35 trillion. What is it? I'm
Yeah.
going to double check now. Like,
It's
yeah,
frightening.
it's frightening. And then another
That
thing.
that's a
Go ahead.
that is almost an unfathomable number to really put your brain around what just $1 trillion is versus 35 trillion. Oh, holy four-letter word all day long. Like, oh man,
Right.
just insane.
Hold on one second. Hold on. I got to what was I going to say? I was gonna say something, and now I got completely sidetracked because I wanted to. There's this little thing I used to say, and I forget exactly how the numbers work. But let me check it. I'm checking my math. Okay, how did it go? So, yeah. So, if you were to earn $1,000 a day, this is the difference between a million and a billion. If you were to earn $1,000 per day, it would take you nearly 3 years, well, 2.5 years to hit $1 million. It would take you 2,740 years to hit 1 billion.
Yeah. No. No. Exponentially try to go to $1 trillion.
I went to 35 trillion. So to get to $35 trillion, if you earned $1,000 a day, would take 95,890,411 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What's funny? That reminds me of an old joke when $1 million was quite a bit. And so, this guy goes to God and he goes, God, what's a million years like to you? And he says, just a mere second, my child. Well, then what's $1 million to you? Oh, just a penny. Well, can I borrow $1 million? He said, sure, in just a second.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, that's a good one. I never heard that joke. I really like it.
Yeah, that one I was taught that at a young age, and it was like, wow, that's freaking pretty good play on words and everything.
Right.
Life's life is beautiful, but it's also wow. You see things and learn things that are just holy smokes, man.
Yep. Well, Yeah. So all right. I love this. We're gonna get going, but I do love what Bombay Sapphire said here. He says, "This is a good quote to end the night on." Really, he says, "With capitalism, there might be breadlines. With socialism, there might be bread."
Oh
I like
man,
it.
that's awesome.
Oh goodness. So, anywho, we are going to go ahead and call it because it's been close to an hour. It's been really close. Yep. Guys, I wanted to say a couple of things, and Raven, I'm going to get you with this. It was really nice to get back in front of you guys and just chat again. There's a million more topics we can probably bring up, so I do want to do this again in maybe a few weeks. As I said last time on my auction last week, I don't really necessarily want to auction every single week. I'd love to just get in front of the camera on a Saturday night and hang out with you, have a guest on. For example, tonight it was Raven. I love having Raven. We'll definitely have him back. But Raven, additionally, and I know Rob's been sick, but I really want to get back to you, me, Keith, and Rob doing some Mount Stackmore stuff. What do you think?
Yeah, it's been a while, man.
And not on a Saturday night, like our own
while.
night where, how we used to do it, so.
Yeah. I think people would like that. And we always had a good time doing that,
Mm-hmm.
It's good to support each other. And I know Rob is trying to bounce back. I've pulling for the guy, Rob's one of those special type of friends. He's what you see, and I just can't imagine 100%. I can sympathize, and I know from my own experiences what he's going through. But for a guy that's like him, he's been so self-efficient, and to be down for 10 months straight already is just, it's sad to see.
Yeah.
And I'm praying for him.
I used to always look at Rob as like the strong one. You know what I mean? Because it's just
Mr. Muscle and Fitness.
Yeah, I mean, I looked up, and I still look up to Rob, but I mean, I looked up to Rob, on a fitness level. I'm like, man, I really like to get fit like Rob. I'm not, you know what I mean? And it's sad to see how quickly, because of his what happened to him. So hopefully, when he finally gets over this, it'd be great to get back into it. The good thing is it's what he's going through is not life threatening. It's just lifestyle threatening, and so Rob's still going to be with us. It's just, hopefully sooner than later, that he gets back to where his normal self, where he's, so anyway, I'd love to get you, me, and Keith and Rob all back together and, doing those things again. It was a lot of fun. So you good with that?
Good times.
Yeah,
sure. We're good.
All right, guys, do me a favor before we go. Ravenhawk Coins has his own channel, growing like a weed, almost to, are you at 75,000 yet?
I'm past that. I'm at 77 something. It's,
see what I mean? Growing like a weed. Like, it's hard for me to even track. Go give him a sub, because he's going to hit 100,000. Are you doing anything special for 100,000?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We've got some stuff already donated for the 100K celebration, but I plan on doing something that is, very memorable. I want to give away some stuff that literally makes people go, wow, that was pretty nice for somebody hitting 100K to give that much back.
Heck yeah, dude. My 100K giveaway was epic. I want to do, I don't even know what I'm going to do for 200K yet, but I am approaching it. I'm almost at 191. So
you're doing good, man. I'm confused as to what the real benchmark is after the 100. Is it the 200 or is it a $250,000?
I originally was going to do a $250,000, but everyone says, are you going to do something for your 200? So I said, what the heck, maybe I will.
Yeah.
But
it's good to give back.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, the reason I brought that up is go over to Ravens and subscribe at Ravenhawk Coins. There's a link to his channel because I tagged him in the description if you want to do it that way, or just search Ravenhawk Coins on YouTube. Go over there and give him a sub. He'd appreciate it. And we're going to call it here. Guys, thank you for joining us. Raven, you want to say anything on our way out?
Hey, just thank you for everybody being here tonight. New names, old names. We had a huge crowd. We had 320 plus at one point. So I'm glad that people were here and getting some good information. We'll see you in the next ones, hopefully with Rob and Seeker and Mr. Crew. I think Coin Crew and all of us, we've always had a lot of fun doing those. So I look forward to doing that again.
Absolutely. All right, guys, have a wonderful night. Next time I do this, by the way, I will try and do some, how I like to do fun stuff on the stream with the bot and with the animations and stuff. So maybe I'll kind of flesh this out as time goes on, but we'll have to see for the next one. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that here in a few weeks. All right, guys, thanks so much and have a great rest of your night.